Welcome to Speaking Cinema, a serious movie jibber jabber, a movie podcast, broadcasting to you from the Victorian England zombie apocalypse via Hollywood, California, planet Earth. We are Speaking Cinema. Don't know about it? We choose a movie, talk about it, how we feel about it, what we know. Then we dive deep, watch that movie, come back, talk about that movie, all for a contextual conversation about the only thing fit to podcast, movies.
That's what we do on here, huh? That is, you gave away the whole game. Right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
That's our whole shtick.
Speaking of our game, let's watch Jibber Jabber every single Monday. Follow us on social media at Speaking Cinema. Rate, subscribe, help us out.
We're on them all. We're probably on MySpace at some point.
Yeah, I did make us a MySpace page.
Yeah.
Which I don't update. Definitely don't update that. I am your host, the embodiment of prejudice, Mr. Jibber Jabber.
Wow.
Hosting with me today, as always, the bloody proud Kevin. Kevin.
That's me.
So proud.
The embodiment of prejudice, huh?
I'm so prejudiced.
Wow.
Is it
So you're perfect for these times, is what you're saying.
well, I'm all about class, because I find dancing to be frivolous and believe that you are of not noble birth.
Oh, boy.
We're continuing our Grab by the Girly season this week, taking a deep dive in the home stretch.
We're getting there.
And
This is the penultimate episode this season.
we're looking at movies chosen by our girlfriends who are definitely tired of our little boy bullshit.
Yeah, you know.
Tired of it.
You show them Con Air one time.
No, that did not go over well. That did not go over well.
Didn't go over well at my house either.
Oh, man.
I'm the only one of the four that actually got any joy out of Con Air.
I tried to like it, but, they made it difficult.
Go back to that Con Air episode, everybody. Check it out.
Or don't. This time on the Jibber Jabber, slay with pride, kill with prejudice. 2016's Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Interesting.
Ooh. This is a recent movie for our girly movie season.
Yes.
The last one, the most current movie of the season, I believe, was Virgin Suicides, which is early 2000s.
99.
99, not even 2000s.
Yep.
So, this movie, directed by Burr Steers, written by Burr Steers, based off the 2009 Pride and Prejudice and Zombies novel written by Seth Grahame-Smith, based on the 1813 novel Pride and Prejudice, written by seminal author Jane Austen.
Yes.
So, adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation.
Also, this is our second Jane Austen adaptation.
What was the first one?
Clueless.
Very good.
It's based on Emma.
And the fact that they're both in the girly season is no coincidence.
No coincidence at all.
Starring Lily James, Sam Riley, Jack Hudson, and Matt Smith. Produced by Cross Creek Pictures, Sierra Pictures, Mad River Pictures, QC Entertainment, Allison Shermer Productions, Handsome Charlie Films, Headgear Films. Distribution by Lionsgate internationally. Domestically, it was Screen Gems, a Sony company.
There you go.
Indeed.
It's amazing these days when you go see a smaller movie, just how many logos are in front of it.
And,
you ever see that?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who knows.
Oh, people hate it, and I'm like, I don't really care. I mean, it kind of just, this is what it takes to get some shit done. You know what I mean?
It's like this company can kick a little in, this one can kick a little in. It's just that, unfortunately, the way it has to go.
I mean, if you're mad that there's a bunch of things in the beginning of the movie, be mad that billionaires buy $3 million cars. You could have bought a $1 million car and a $2 million house, but instead you bought a $3 million car, and instead, don't buy any of that shit. Fund a movie.
There you go. Make some art. Make something that's going to last a while.
Indeed. You Bugatti Veyron, it ain't going to last.
Trust me, those tires blow out quick. I know, because I have one.
How is the Veyron doing, Kev?
Be on like the sixth set of $4,000 tires by this point.
Oh, now that you're on the sixth set, you need to replace the rim.
That's true. The rim, the $12,000 rim, needs an update. And I'll just throw it out and buy a new one. Yeah. So at this point,
get this Chiron that's coming out pretty soon.
Ooh, that Chiron.
If you're not familiar, the 5 highly trained Bennett sisters in Georgian England must try to protect themselves from the growing zombie threat, find suitable husbands for themselves, battle marriage proposals and unlikely suitors, and save the country before it's too late. Written by IMDb user Deborah Falconer. Thanks, IMDb user Deborah Falconer.
I hope the falconing business is going well for you.
Kev, we could talk about the background of this movie and so all I'm gonna say is that the publisher of the original book figured out that there's a bunch of public domain books that they could adapt, and they wanted to insert genre elements into it.
Yes.
So this movie, the book Pride and Prejudice Zombies is akin to Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters,
Yes.
and a number of other Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, etc., etc. So that all exists. That's cute, but we're watching this movie alone. So let's go straight into it. Kev, have you heard of this movie? Did you watch it? Did you see it? What'd you think?
I have heard of it. Saw the posters for it. Did not see it. Didn't really feel it was kind of marketed towards me. I want to
talk about this marketing in depth.
I think it's more going for the Doctor Who crowd out there, which I am very much not a part of. And I tried to give Doctor Who a shake, and I did.
The problem with Doctor Who is
not my bag, baby.
The problem with Doctor Who is like, where the fuck do I jump into this thing?
Yeah, exactly. It feels very impenetrable. Doctor Who fans, tell us what episode to start on, and maybe we'll consider it.
So I have seen this movie.
Okay.
I saw it when it came out in the theater.
Okay.
I saw it on Blu-ray when Emily bought the Blu-ray.
Okay.
I saw it on Blu-ray again when we were both sick one day from work.
Okay.
I saw it on Blu-ray again with our friend of the show Johnny, and this will be my 5th time seeing this movie.
Wow.
So I've seen.
We gotta get Johnny on the show.
Come on. Yeah.
Come on, Kev.
Listen, I would like everyone to be on the show at least once,
Sure.
but it's like pulling teeth. Fuck you, everybody. Fuck you, Mom. Fuck you, Dad. And you, listen to this, fuck you, too. So, let's talk about the marketing. You just mentioned that, and let's just get on it.
Sure.
Came out around this time of year.
Yeah,
which is early in the year. February.
Always an immediate red flag. Not
Shouldn't be.
We have good movies come out. We just saw John Wick 2.
Yeah.
Split is apparently very good.
Right, which I saw and I liked a lot.
What? When did you go see it? What was I doing?
You were traveling, so
man, I would have gone.
Definitely there's been disruptors in this time of year where people have been like, I think
Silence of the Lambs came out in February, 91.
And famously Deadpool came out in February.
Year.
So I think this being a dead time, I think is not.
But there are definitely still movies that are like, this is the dumping ground.
This movie, I think the title of this movie is like one of those things where you think that's like oh man, that's a funny title, but that's dumb though. You know what I mean? I think this movie suffers from the legacy of violence that is the scary movies, where when movies have silly names, people think that they're parodies.
Yeah.
And they're not, right? I think Kick-Ass suffered this way. I remember when we were working at the place where we used to work together, I saw Kick-Ass opening weekend, and I was talking to people about it, and they're like, oh, that's like a parody, one of those parody movies, right? It's like making fun of superheroes. I'm like, no, it's its own thing. And I think that we do live in a legacy from those movies. Sure. And I think this kind of falls into that, where it's like stupid title, stupid movie kind of thing, and Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Yep. Also, the marketing was awful. I don't know who you're saying they're trying to court the Doctor Who people. I don't know who they're trying to court. Sure. You would think the obvious fucking thing is to court the Walking Dead fans, the biggest show on TV, especially at the time. Because in the
this is pre Walking Dead backlash, which I feel is kind of going on right now.
Right, and I think they tried to market to Jane Austen fans, but I think. I don't know I think Jane Austen fans like the idea of reading a zombie Jane Austen book. I don't think they like the idea of seeing a Jane Austen movie, which doesn't make any sense, but I think it's true.
True.
And I think they should have gone after like the Resident Evil crowd. And I think the marketing was so weird. And it's like, it's in Oscar season, so it should have been like, while other, like big bold letters like, bum, 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 bum. So, bum, bum, bum. While other studios give you movies about, and then you cut to fucking them fighting zombies and stuff. A lady who invented soap, which is a dig at Joy. Yeah. And a movie about Apple computers, ? Dig at Steve Jobs. We present to you, and then fucking people fighting, women kicking zombies' ass. Really. I'm not saying make it lowest common denominator, but really sell you on what the fucking thing is. Like, chicks fighting zombies. That's what we're doing here. Let's be honest about it.
But does a Pride and Prejudice fan want to see that movie?
A Pride and Prejudice fan will go see this movie, or they won't, based on the title.
But when a zombie fan, go and see a Pride and Prejudice movie.
If you sold it to them this way, I think they'd be like, it's called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. It's a weird title, but I don't know. The trailer looked cool. You know what I mean? They needed that Suicide Squad style trailer where it's like,
which they did not have because I thought all those trailers were terrible.
Yeah, and I agree with you. So, Emily's a Jane Austen, again, friend of the show, Emily, loves that Jane Austen and loved this book, so she's like, we got to see it. And I'm like, listen, if my girlfriend wants to take me to a zombie movie,
all for it.
On Valentine's Day of all days,
do it. Can't complain.
So, I just think that I think that intrinsically during the award season, there's always the meathead counter programming that you could do,
of course,
where you could just say, well, everyone else is giving you movies about a garbage man. It's harder when they're about race. It's much easier when it's joy and no one really likes that movie.
It'd be bad if they were like, well, other studios giving movies about a gay black man struggling with his existence.
And
Moonlight.
And a complaining garbage man and some stupid kid who can't find his way home. We present to you John Wick 2. That doesn't really fly. It would have flown last year when there was a lot of just kind of like, movies you can make fun of,
sure,
right? It's hard to make fun of Moonlight. It's a very beautiful movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, we really do need that movie.
And it's being a little insensitive.
Right, but you can make fun of Steve Jobs without being insensitive, you know what I mean? Because it's silly, you can be silly about it.
And Steve Jobs was a dick, so there you go.
Right. So I just think that they really botched the marketing on this. And I think they need to go after the Resident Evil. They needed to go after the zombie people.
Well, and the reason why I say it was kind of more towards a young kind of Doctor Who type crowd, every poster I saw had the hashtag really big, your Instagram thing, your Facebook thing, like those were very prominent. You don't see that on like the Logan posters that are around right now.
No.
So for the new Wolverine movie, it's I just feel they were really pushing for that crowd, and so that's where I was kind of like, this probably isn't for me.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're gonna find out, Kev. We're gonna find out for you.
We're gonna find the fuck out.
This is a weird genre. We usually at this point in the podcast we say, do you like movies of this genre?
Sure.
We're in a weird genre here.
It's a relatively new genre.
Well, it's a zombie. It's a period piece, Victorian Jane Austen. It's a zombie movie. There's nothing that fits that description that I'm aware of. It's kind of a reimagining of
a known property.
A known property with like a twist on it, it's like a mini trend. It's not enough to be a trend, and it's not grouped together enough to be a trend, but movies in this steed: Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunters, Jack the Giant Slayer, PPZ, to a lesser extent, maybe that TV show on ABC about all the fucking
Once Upon a Time.
Once Upon a Time, maybe.
Okay.
So it's in a very bad company.
When you say that, I've seen 3 out of 4 of those. They're all terrible.
What were 3 out of which ones? Hansel and Gretel?
Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, awful.
Okay.
Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters was on HBO.
Didn't like it?
Terrible. And Once Upon a Time is the most confusing goddamn show I've ever seen in my life.
That show...
And I watched Twin Peaks.
...is a goddamn dumpster fire of a show.
Yes, it is.
You're bad. One day... the first quarter of the episode, you're the villain of the season. The second 2/3 of the episode, you're okay. And then whatever's the percentage left, you're good again? I don't know.
Yep.
That shows a dumpster fire.
Yeah, and then they just throw in some, Robin Hood shows up, or fucking Elsa shows up this week.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of these movies have, going back to it, I just have to say it again, divisive titles. They're just divisive, right? It's like, it's the line in the sand. They are religious movies in a secular world, if that analogy works. You know what I'm saying? It's it's like, you gotta believe.
Yep.
You gotta have faith. And Emily had the faith. That's why we saw it.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Jane Austen?
And mildly. I haven't read any of her books. I've seen some of the movie adaptations.
Yeah.
Joe Wright's Pride and Prejudice was quite good.
Was that one with Keira Knightley?
Yes.
Yes, that's a fantastic fucking movie.
Very good. Joe Wright is a very underrated director.
That was my first Pride and Prejudice, and probably my first Jane Austen. Again, Emily in college, like, you have to watch this movie, and I was like, no, I don't want to, no. And then I watched it, I was like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I do have a hard time sometimes following what they're saying.
Sure. Those are the kind of movies similar to, like, whenever I watch a Shakespeare movie, I turn the subtitles on.
Yes. Sometimes you got to.
For the way that kind of for me, it's you gotta see the words and then they connect, you know.
Indeed.
As opposed to, my ear isn't in tune with, as much as I love Shakespeare, it's like my ear's just not in tune to hear it. I do love Shakespeare, so, but it's just, for me, it's the visual part.
Why don't you marry him?
Oh, my goodness.
Unbelievable.
Oh!
So, I'm anxious to watch this movie, Kev. I do want to see it a fifth time. And I don't know if that's playing my hand a little bit here and whatever.
Okay.
But what are your expectations?
Man, not high. I'm gonna say it here. I'm not excited to watch this.
Okay, that's interesting.
You're dragging me tooth and nail
because
to watch
for
this.
the record, and maybe fifth time.
And I knew it was coming.
Maybe fifth time. Maybe that's when the jokes run thin. But I have enjoyed this movie for 4 consecutive times.
Okay.
So and my memory of it is not that it's perfect by any means. But there's definitely a lot that I love in this movie, and I don't want to spoil anything for you because you haven't seen it yet. So we'll get into that in a minute. But so maybe we should just cut it off here. And this is anything else you want to get out?
Nah.
Okay.
Let's just do it.
Here we go.
Here we go.
And we're back.
We're back.
And we're back. We're back.
Back.
We're back.
Back.
Kev, how'd you watch this movie? I watched Emily's Blu-ray copy, which I've seen now 3 times.
I also got the Blu-ray physical from Netflix.
Indeed. Kev,
Get those discs.
the joy of this season, the joy of it, we're in the home stretch here, is that I have no idea how you're going to take these fucking movies, right? I have no idea. Last week we did
Roman
Holiday, and I was like, I love this movie, you liked it, and then we talked about it, you loved it more, but I didn't know. I was like, maybe Kevin's going to be like, this movie sucks. I don't know. I never know. So, and I should say but we should have said this in the first half, but we didn't. We are not Victorian novel readers. There will always be part of this that we cannot access because we don't know. So I feel like there's a lot of this movie. The first line in this movie is, "It is a fact well known that the zombie in your brains will." That's a reference to the first line of Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
So there is a level of this that we will never access as we are not familiar with the book it's based on or the book that book is based on as well.
Sure.
So that being said, what you think?
What the fuck did you just make me watch? This movie is awful. I hated it. Hated every fucking minute of it. I'm so mad at you.
And fifth time, I think I love this movie.
I hate you. I hate you so much.
It's so much fun. It's fun. It's a fun movie.
No, it's not.
No,
it isn't.
It's not. I don't know. I mean, I also think that there's things that I've seen on the fifth watching that I definitely didn't notice before. As crazy as this is to believe, the fact that the guy who used to be Doctor Who, the old,
Matt Smith.
Yeah, Matt Smith is their cousin, and they say that multiple times.
Yeah.
I did not notice that at all. And I'm like, wait, what? They're their cousins?
Yeah.
And I paused it the first time they said it. And I'm like, did you know this? She's like, yeah, it's part of the book.
Yeah.
And then he keeps saying it, and I missed it. Kev, I put 10 hours into this movie, and I missed it. The first 8 hours, I didn't know. How do you not know? He says, my cousin Jane.
How do you not know? He does say it, and then he leers on them.
Yeah. I also say, it took me 5 viewings to see this, so the movie is about the zombie plague, and the zombies are kind of unorganized, shuffling zombies. In the beginning, the first zombie they encounter in the beginning part is he's playing cards, and he's a functional human of a zombie, which they eventually get to or whatever, which I appreciate it because it's kind of like how plagues work, where it's like people know some things about it, but you don't know everything about it, and there's a lot of assumptions that people make. And Mr. Darcy, with his prejudice, very prejudiced, doesn't want to learn anything new, thinks he knows everything, thinks he knows everybody, he's an expert on the plague, but doesn't really fully understand it. And he needs Lizzie to teach him about it.
And he uses his magic flies.
They're carrion flies.
In the one scene, even though they...
Dude, there's 2 scenes with that. There's the scene with the opening scene and the...
2 whole scenes.
Well, she kills his flies.
Yeah, she kills him.
I mean, I don't know how you catch carrion flies. It would seem to be very difficult, but perhaps a net, though. I'm no bug expert because, Kev, as I've said on this podcast, and we'll say it,
bugs are gross.
Bugs are gross. What was your problem with this movie? Was it Victorian? Was it the zombie? Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a bizarre mix.
It can't commit to either premise.
It definitely wants to have its cake and eat it too.
But it makes a shitty cake and then drops it on the floor.
I like that cake. I will say this, and this is just on the aesthetic. I do think aesthetically, it doesn't feel like a Bobo Victorian thing.
Yes, it does.
No way.
Yes, it does. This movie is amateur hour from minute one.
No. This is what happens when people don't like a movie and everything starts to slide. All of their costumes are appropriately layered and costumed, right? It's not like all of a sudden you see someone with so there's that BBC show, Robin Hood. Are you familiar with this?
No.
It's just a Robin Hood show, right?
Okay.
And it takes place in not Victorian England, but the time before Victorian England,
okay.
Right? Where you didn't have let's just say machined clothing, like machine stitching.
Yeah.
And so they're all it's like for like literally 3 episodes, Robin's wearing a thermal. Like a thermal shirt. And it's like I get that they're kind of playing with it. It's very loose, but it's like that is like an American Apparel thermal.
At some point, the script supervisor's gotta go. Excuse me.
I think they did. I think they did, and they're like, you know what?
Yep.
We just don't have. We just fuck it. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they're all decked out Victorian. All the houses, you're exploring the houses, the grounds. They have these big things. I like the little details that with the zombie stuff, where, like the fences are these gigantic wheels with covered in spikes.
True.
You know what I mean?
That we never see get used.
I don't think they get. I think they just sit there. I think it's just the idea that if you ran into it, you just get impaled on it.
Yeah. Why can't we see that though?
Well,
why the fuck not do it?
I will say,
can't commit.
Because you want more zombie stuff, or you want more romance, Kev?
I want it to just do something because it's just flailing around at the moment. It's really trying. Actually, no. It's the opposite. They're not trying. They think that title alone is just going to write itself, and everybody's just going to do it. But nobody really puts any thought behind this.
I will say, in the interstitial, since we watched this thing, I did look up the difference between the movie and the book.
Uh-huh.
Not the Jane Austen book, but the BBC book. It is very different. The book seems to be darker in a way that is not enjoyable. Where it's just like as if they're having fun being nasty. You know what I mean? Like it's like Wickham's wife gets infected with a zombie and then he hangs himself, but then Lydia gets married and then Jane gets married. It's like wouldn't you be bummed out that your sister is a zombie? It's like I don't know. So. But I wish Emily was here to tell us about the book, but she's not. So continuing on there, I don't know. Okay.
Let me tell you the moment where I really fell out of love. Well, really fell into hate with this movie. They make this whole spiel about you train in Japan, you train in China, this kind of thing.
I believe the direct quote was Japan for the wealthy,
yes.
China for the wise.
For the wise, okay, fine. That's an okay premise. I'm okay with that. First fight scene comes on. It's a big slow-mo shot. Think it's gonna be a cool action scene, and then they do this Bobo fucking student film choreographed fighting that sucks balls. And they do it through the whole movie. The fights are poorly shot, poorly blocked, they're boring, they're not fun.
That is patently not true, Kev. Come on. That is not true.
That is completely true.
No way.
They're doing like, huh.
There's definitely one sister, I think she's the one with the glasses, who is, you could tell, like, the combat training was very awkward because she's holding the sword like as if it's she's afraid it's gonna cut
Nobody
her.
Feels like they're supposed to be these expert like people,
definitely.
And they suck. But then the fights are so bad.
Definitely,
and that's like supposed to be the thing that separates it, brings in the Walking Dead kind of crowd, and they can't pull it off.
Well, I don't think they ever wanted the Walking Dead crowd, as we talked about in the first half. But
again,
I will say,
can't commit.
I will say that Lizzie does a good job. The main character, I will say that she does a good job. I'll disagree with you there.
No. So the fight coordinator, I looked him up. His name's Maurice Lee.
Ooh, Kev getting.
I'm going.
Kevin cyberstalking
I'm going
you.
in here.
And what'd he do?
His IMDb credits are a lot of Marvel movies and superhero type movies. No kung fu movies. No martial arts style movies. And yet these people are supposed to be in a martial arts kind of mode. So you'd think they would know some martial arts. But they don't. It's just like generic movie fighting, and it's boring, and they're poor. And on top of that, the scenes are edited in the most unexciting way you could possibly have.
So when they're in slow motion tearing up the things, and Darcy's looking at her, and he thinks that what she's doing is very attractive, and they've fought in before this thing, because he's very rude, and he says, and her arms are surprisingly muscular, yet not so much as to be unfeminine. That's not funny to you?
No.
That is like, I wish I talked that way.
I'm in the throes of just like hate stew when that line came on. So
I think you're wearing, I don't know what the opposite of rose-colored glasses are, probably blue. Some blue-colored glasses.
Blue-colored glasses that don't fit right.
Yeah, I think because, and I will say that this movie is in that Victorian mode where we really romanticize their lives, right? Where you're really pining over rich people who don't work, who are trying to find love in this bizarro system, which it's always a weird thing of like, it's like they literally have servants. Like, what are those people's lives like? But they must be terrible. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I like the zombie stuff. There is one scene in particular I do not care for, which is when Jane.
Only one, huh?
Jane is going to Wickham's house, and her horse gets spooked, and she falls off the horse, and she shoots the gun and it misfires. There's just not enough menace in that scene, and it's just like boiled noodles. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like you don't even need to show us the scene. You could have just had her fall off the horse, and then there'd be a mystery. Like, is she bit? Was it a backfire? You really just didn't even need that whole scene. You know what I mean? A lot of the zombie. I would say it's pretty light on the zombie stuff.
And the other problem, I think, and again, can't commit to a premise. This movie's PG-13.
Yeah. What do you want, like zombie gore?
If you're giving me a zombie movie, I don't want like half-ass zombie gore.
Okay. We actually should have talked about this in the first half, but now that you bring it up, it's good because
that's actually another reason why I avoided it. I was like, PG-13, you've already neutered this thing. Can't commit.
Here's the thing. I do think that zombie movies have a reputation for being gore zone movies. Yes. If you know what I'm saying. I think to the detriment of the genre, because you look at the granddaddy of them all, like undeniably the granddaddy of them all. You look at
Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. There are some gore shots, right?
Yeah.
But appropriately,
some disturbingly good gore shots.
Exactly, right? Because when you see this, they'll be outside and they look, and you just see all these zombies, and they're just this menace, right? Yeah. And it's not focusing on the gore aspect of it; it's focusing on the menace. And then when someone gets killed, you see them eating them, and that's when you start the gore. Yeah. And then as George Romero eventually became a caricature of his own self, by the time we get to the Day of the Dead, you have these prolonged, gory shots that are for no other sake than just to be gross.
Yeah.
And I think that the zombie genre really embraced that for the core fans, to the alienation of making good material. You know what I mean?
It depends on the zombie movie you're trying to make. I think the gore level in Night of the Living Dead is perfect for the paranoid thriller that they're trying to make.
Indeed.
The gore level in Shaun of the Dead, which is a fun zombie movie, but has vicious gore.
Yeah.
The guy gets torn to pieces.
Right.
But
it's an over-the-top movie. This is an over-the-top movie, and they do not have the over-the-top gore. And it's just... There's nothing to do. There's nothing to look at. I get what you're saying, and there are things like headshots, and it's kind of like it kind of reminded me of like Resident Evil 4 when you headshot a zombie in that game, where you shoot them in the head, and then the head is just gone. Yeah. Right. And there's in
a perfect straight line on all of their necks. They probably use the same plate for every fucking thing.
Right. And there's
can't commit.
And there's they did commit. They committed to making it more tenable. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But then, so there's a give and take to that. You know what I mean? That I feel like I get what you're saying. I will say though, I do think that zombie fans, they criticize, for example, PPZ. No, sorry, this is PPZ. They criticize the one with Brad Pitt.
World War Z.
World War Z for not being gory enough, and it's like that movie has no intention of being gory, right? You can't really judge it that way because it's like it's not about the zombie as a goopy creature. That's not what we're doing here. You know what I mean?
Yep. That movie has a host of other problems that don't involve.
Sure, and if you want to, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to not like that movie for that reason, that's fine. I don't think they're trying to do it here. I don't think that this movie is.
I don't like that movie because it's a fucking mess. You know, you can tell there's like eight cooks in that kitchen, and they're all adding chives.
I mean, I'm not as down as that movie as everyone else. I thought that that movie does an interesting thing that is not done here, where that movie escalates, and then de-escalates, right? So it's like you're getting bigger and bigger zombie set pieces, and then we go to the ending of the movie is a smaller zombie set piece, which I feel like that is a very mature move it was a total rewrite because
Yep.
that's not how they originally did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but this movie
Okay.
it's supposed to be kind of this
And
fun over the top movie.
Yeah.
And they fail miserably.
Well, the zombie makeup effects do go for it, right? You see people with like all fucked up faces and their teeth are hanging
But
out.
you never really get a good look at them.
That's not true. When we're in the church, we see a whole host of them. When we see that close up of in the first scene, we see a close up of the girl with the snot bubble.
Yeah.
One we see,
But most of it's shitty CGI. They don't have really any practical
Kev,
effects.
what are you talking? That is not true.
Yes, it is.
When the girl comes out of the when the girl comes out of the cart. Okay, this is one of my favorite scenes. So they're walking with Matt Smith, right? Who is just chewing this movie up and spitting it out.
No. They told Matt Smith, do your own thing. Try and make this funny, please, desperately. And he fails.
Would you like another
miserably.
scone?
That
was fun.
That's supposed to be a joke?
So-
that was a laugh line in that scene? Terrible.
I thought it was funny. He's a Looney Tune in this movie. Is there some trouble? And they all pull their swords. He's like, oh, apparently there is. That scene, right? And they come across the horse. That woman, that makeup is all practical. She's touching her own makeup. She's like pushing her cheek flap back up into its like where it's supposed to be, and then it flops back down. It's not. There's a lot less CG than you're giving this movie credit for.
All right, well, none of it looks any good. None of it's awe-inspiring.
I think
none of it's interesting.
I think objectively, you're being, because you didn't like the tone of the movie. I think you're decrying the makeup effects, which I don't think is fair, Kev. I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
I think the makeup effects
they're Bobo.
are better than you're giving them credit for.
Bobo.
I would say they're fine.
Nah. Can't commit.
I think you're losing. I get that you didn't like this movie, and that's totally fair because this movie is divisive. But I think you can't say that the makeup effects are good. They're objectively there.
I've seen better.
Also, you claim they're CG, so I think
there's plenty of CG shit makeup effects in this thing.
Name one.
That snot bubble is not practical. If they had made a practical snot bubble, awesome.
Also,
That's cool.
I did not like that snot bubble, as you would assume that I wouldn't.
You know, because snot is gross.
Yeah. Oh, okay. If you don't like this scene, this is just.
There are no scenes I like in this movie.
Then I think,
just so you know.
So they leave
exactly zero.
They leave what's his face's like big house. Fuck, I can't remember his name, but the friend, Darcy's friend's house, right? And the sisters are like, they're mad at Lizzie. They're like, we could have stayed a whole month in that palace, you know, blah, blah, blah. They're going back and forth and arguing like sisters do. And then the mom just looks out the window and she says, oh, the orphanage fell. And then you cut to a bunch of creepy kids and the music gets all like creepy and there's a bunch of creepy kids walking around the forest. Come on.
There's no comic timing. There's nothing to really sell that.
Kev, I accept that you...
A dull slog that desperately wants to be liked and fails miserably. It's a tap dancing bear.
I accept that you don't like this movie, but I really feel like you've gone off the deep end in terms of...
No. I hated this fucking thing. Like, my day was ruined when I watched it.
I'm glad your day was ruined.
It gives me anger just thinking about
so
it.
Let me jump to your side really quick. I do think that there are a couple of things, especially in the third act, that get a little weird. Also, if you didn't like the comedic timing on when they're introducing the girl with the eye patch and they're talking about her, and then you cut to her on the top of a bunch of zombie heads, and she's just like, ah!
No,
you're crazy.
Can't roll.
That's Conan the Barbarian level great shit right there.
I could have been watching Conan the Barbarian the whole time.
Or you could be watching Conan 2, and then where would you be?
Probably in the same mode as this, Conan the Destroyer.
Yeah, that movie is terrible.
That movie is god awful.
and on paper, not that different than the first one, but somehow
the tone is completely
worse in every way. Crossing the effect of them crossing the bridge, which in the plot of the movie makes sense, right? Where it's like there's like the river, and then they're crossing the bridge. It makes sense. Like, they're gonna blow this bridge up and seal all the zombies on this side. That makes sense. The execution of that scene feels very, like, stock movie. It's the ticking clock. It's the we're running across the bridge as it's blowing up. Really didn't need that, you know what I mean? And you could have held back the explosion. So, I mean, how cool would it have been if they were almost all the way across the bridge and then the explosion starts happening and catches up to them and throws them off the horses? It just wasn't evocative. That scene was not evocative in any way, shape, or form.
I would say none of the scenes are evocative in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I guess
they can't. I don't know who Burr Steer is, but he doesn't know his way around a camera.
Oh,
He doesn't. This guy does not speak cinema.
if he's like Martin Scorsese's DP, you're off the show.
No, well, he's not Michael Ballhaus, so there you go.
Right. What if it was his AKA? We're trying to kill time here as the IMDb for some reason loads very slowly. Here we go. Bert Sears.
Burr Steer.
Man, this is so slow. He did. Oh, interesting. He did Igby Goes Down,
Interesting. That's actually a halfway decent movie.
and he was Roger in Pulp Fiction.
Who's Roger?
I think Roger's one of the guys who's eating the Big Kahuna Burger.
Oh, okay.
Weird.
Huh. Roger in Pulp Fiction.
I don't know what. Well,
Well,
to think
regardless, he didn't bring any.
Stunned silence from us.
He didn't bring any of that talent to this fucking movie.
I will.
It's just, I don't know, there's no verve to the editing. The shots are muddy. Nothing looks good. It's just there is nothing. There is nothing moving this.
The shots are not
along.
muddy, homie. The shots are not muddy. That is just not true. Your hatred of this movie has clouded your judgment.
Don't like it.
I'm just saying it's a very actually I would actually completely disagree with that. It's a very vibrant movie. There's lots of color in this movie. There's lots of like
There's a
Victorian level details.
There's a difference between putting color in a thing and actually like shooting it in an interesting way. And it's just they could not have found.
That's not what you said, homie. That's not what you said. You said
right.
you're saying the cat is like looking through a screen door, which it's not.
All right. Maybe I went too far.
Take off your 3D glasses and watch the movie in regular 2D stereoscopic vision.
No.
One more thing I gotta say, because this is something I think I would like someone to explain this to me if there is an explanation, which I don't think there is. Wickham, the bad guy, who turns out to be the bad guy in this movie.
Yeah.
So in Pride and the regular Pride and Prejudice, we think Wickham is good because Darcy is such a dick, and then later we find out that Darcy is a dick, but Wickham is actually much worse than him because he's like Darcy is honest in his dickery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Wickham is a cheat and a liar, you know? So you find out that Wickham is like, the zombies can be reasoned with, they have intelligence, we can have peace with the zombies, right? And then between that and the ending, we find out that he's a really bad person. He squandered a bunch of money, he probably killed Darcy's father, which was his adopted father, and then he tried to marry Darcy's sister to get her inheritance money, and Darcy was able to save his sister from her, right? Which is all from Pride and Prejudice. Except for the zombie part with him. Yeah. And then we find out that he's actually leading the zombie army, and he is a zombie himself, right? And it's like, so then was his original plan to fake peace, and whatever, did he turn bad? It's just, that is very muddled, where it's like, was he a bad guy who realized that he could do something good, and then when he got frustrated, went back to his old ways? That character development is not there because the movie is not about him. It's about Lydia. It's about the sisters and Darcy.
But they sure commit a lot of time to him for a movie.
I feel like they're trying to explain it, and it's like, I just think that this is just too complicated to be explained. Yep. You know what I mean?
And if it's too complicated to be explained, throw it out of there.
Well, yeah,
take it out in the rewrite.
It's
or rework it.
And they could have simplified it or come up with something to.
Because if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what. I just didn't know. I'm like, I can force this to work in my head. You know what I mean? By choosing to believe that he was a bad person, and then when he got bit by a zombie, he decided to try to be a good person, and then when he got frustrated, he was like, I'm just a dick. But I don't think that's really in the text. I will say this about the movie. I do like and I'm sure you're going to disagree with this, so get it ready.
I will. Anything that says like in this movie, I will immediately disagree with.
I do like how the sisterly relationship between the girls. I think oftentimes in movies, girls are written as boys and they just add boobs onto them, right? It's like, it's a dude, and there's some boobs. And I like how, like, for example, the scene where they're... also, I think everyone looks cool in, like, that martial arts outfit with it's like the long black shirt with the high collar with the baggy pants.
Sure.
I think that if anyone wore that should be more of a normal outfit in society. I think that people just kind of look good in it. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you got any problems downstairs, we're just gonna paint over it with baggy pants and a long shirt. So they're practicing their wushu shit and they're talking about, boys and shit. And then the girl sucker, she like low blows Lizzie, like she kicks her in the back of the leg, and then Lizzie looks up at her, and they're like, oh shit, and then they start running away, which I feel like is very like sibling relationship, right? You could be doing something, and then when you kind of edge it too far, it's like, oh, this is my big sister, this is my big brother, like I gotta run away. And then when they do the tabletop push, so then they run outside, and then one of the girls gets down on her knees, and then they do like the tabletop push, like 5th grade style. And I'm like, that is very siblings. You know what I mean? And I like that it's a little detail, right? It doesn't make or break the movie, but it's just a little detail in there. So, Kev, why didn't you like that?
We've seen a much better sibling relationship film this season, actually, in The Virgin Suicides. That feels like a real sibling relationship.
But that, I mean...
And even something like Clueless. Between the friends.
between her and her brother that she's in love with?
What do you
Gross.
know? But those, to me, are much more genuine and legitimately funny relationships and things that they do.
So
this feels very forced.
So you're saying tabletop tripping your sister doesn't feel siblingly?
If they could film it in a halfway decent way, sure.
Too muddy for you? Come back to that.
It's in like this super wide shot, you can barely see what's happening. Fuck it.
And I also like the mother and how like just like batty she is, because like sometimes they portray her as a little bit more neurotic in other movies, like mental illnessy, and this is like she just wants to marry her daughters because she knows that in the Victorian system that is so anti-woman, like you can't pass your money down to them, so you know.
Exactly. I mean, that was society at that point. It's like you grew up, you learned how to be a wife, and you got married to the first guy that put a ring on you.
Yeah. So, and I feel like when she's talking to Mr. Collins or whatever, and she's eating her ice cream, and she's like, Jane is already spoken for. We're expecting an announcement any minute. And she's kind of like just eating the ice cream and just being like, and he's like, is there any room for negotiation? And she's like, quite no. I just think that actress is really selling you on that character being a wackadoo.
Yeah. I don't know.
Not wackadoo enough for you, or too wackadoo.
Again, just it can't commit to either one. I honestly didn't even get the sense that she was supposed to be this sort of wackadoo strange person.
Listen, Kev, when you watch it 5 times, you pick up on these things.
I guess so. Which I will not be doing.
Some other like little things I didn't like that are just inconsequential in the long stretch of things. Zombieism in the opening crawl thing. They say zombieism comes from the New World. That's like, if there are magical zombies, like some voodoo shit, right, I would kind of get behind that. But the idea that like at this point England is like full of like disease. There's all these horses that are shitting all over the streets. Like if your animal dies, you just leave it in the street. It's like some weird plague is gonna come from the old world, not the new world.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? World. Like what? So you fucking Native Americans dealing with this shit? What's going on here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel like that was a little like throwaway line that just kind of if you think about on your 5th viewing starts to really naunch your ear. They kill Wilhelm, the bodyguard, for no reason.
Yep.
And just kind of like why they you kind of killed him for no reason.
Yep.
I don't know why that happened. And in the beginning, there's a joke. So Darcy, they go to this estate, and Darcy takes like the underground tunnel in, and they're doing a thing where they put him in a device and they're checking his body for bites and such. And they make kind of like a gay joke with a priest. He's like how'd you know that the bruise on my leg, on my ribs was it not a zombie bite? And he's like, oh, I just know. And he's like, I have no bruise. And it's like, that's just like, it's just a really
another clumsy joke that falls flat in this movie.
I will say that's in stark contrast to the innumerable hilarious jokes in this movie that I loved. But mostly Matt Smith, also some of the sisters, like this movie.
Completely forced.
A dark hand guides the enemy. That's great dialogue. A dark hand guides the enemy. That's some Star Wars shit right there.
It would have been better in Star Wars.
I was in the middle before I knew I began. Poetry. Probably literally poetry from Jane Austen.
From Jane Austen.
So, but yeah.
No credit there.
Wait. And Kev, the scene where... So Darcy proposes to her, right? And she says, fuck no, right? And then they get into the fight.
That fight...
How do you not like...
That fight is like rehearsal speed. They're going so slow, and it's the most uninspired, boring fight. It's forced, it's terrible, and I hated watching it.
I questioned your judgment when She said, I didn't know if your sister's affection, I didn't know if his affection for your sister was returned. And she grabs a bunch of books and throws them at him and just screams at the top of her lungs, she's shy! So good.
No.
So good.
Forced.
Kev, I think one day somewhere, I don't know where it's going to be.
It will never happen again.
Maybe you're going to be on a cheap airline. Maybe you're going to be...
I only fly the expensive airlines. Spoiler alert, no I don't.
Now
who's money?
Yeah. You're maybe going to be at an office of some sort, and, this will be on FX. You're going to rewatch this movie. You're going to come in the middle. It's not going to be the beginning.
No.
And you're going to be like...
I will turn
you're going to begrudgingly... In future news, you're going to begrudgingly tell me that there's a couple of scenes that you liked, and a couple of scenes you didn't like. I'm not saying you're going to have a full reversal on this. I'm just saying... In isolation, you're gonna appreciate this movie later in life. I'm gonna say it right now.
Not gonna happen. I will very much avoid it if it shows up on cable. Not even gonna give half a look.
I'm not saying that you're gonna watch it on your own. I'm saying there's gonna be a situation where whatever else is going on in the world, you're in a waiting room, right? It's like, I can either look at the dirty floor or I can look at this dirty screen.
I will look at the dirty floor. I will pick my toenails if it means not having to watch this movie.
In the theory of what I'm talking about, you're going to be on your phone, looking at your phone stuff. I can't imagine what's going to be on the phone at that point. Playing a game. Let's say playing a game. Phone's going to run out of batteries. You're going to, you don't want to run it down too low, and you're going to be forced to watch this fight scene, and you're going to be like, you know what? It was all right. No. And on that day, Kev, I'll forgive you. You don't like this movie, and it doesn't work. Clearly,
fails. On every level.
I'd say it's not perfect. I think there's some scenes that...
It's most definitely not perfect.
I don't think that there's scenes that are... I think there's some scenes in particular that don't work. And some you would argue the motivation of the villain being a big one.
And what about the lame-ass stinger at the end? Lame as hell. Also, that ending is very poorly put together. It's this random shot of them walking away after getting married. The cast credits... And then, this lame stinger with him with the arm, and then a freeze frame, a fade out, and then more credits. That you don't put a scene together that way. There's no rhythm, there's no verb, there's no nothing to it.
Kev,
it put the rotten cherry on the dog shit sundae.
I really think that you've begun to lose your mind at this point. You're talking about how the post credit scene doesn't flow correctly. It's a post credit scene.
But that's the last shot of your goofy little Victorian zombie movie is four people walking away on kind of a random pan over shot, fade out, credits.
Yeah.
Boring. Uninspired. What are we doing here? What is this?
I think you're starting.
Do you understand live?
What? The Room. Yes, indeed. I don't have a problem with that shot. He's like, they got married and they're walking away. It's kind of...
That's how you end your movie on. That's the last note you leave for somebody. Is this, throwaway B-roll fucking pan. That's what you're leaving me on.
Kev, I really think that...
They can't commit to anything.
The evidence of you losing your mind is your problem with one pan in a shot. No. I'm saying, even if there are bigger problems in this movie, that is not nearly in the pantheon of the biggest problem with the movie.
It just, to me, it sums up the apathy of what they're trying to do.
So, you give me your remake sequel pitch that is correcting the problems here.
Get somebody with a little cinema verve.
This is you. This is you. You got the assignment.
I got to put it together.
Listen, this movie's shooting in 3 months. You're hired. What are you doing?
Fuck. Jesus.
I'll run the studio, Kevin. I'm hooking you up. I could, and also the way Sony's going, I could be running that studio.
You could be running that studio. We both read Hit and Run. Oh boy. First, I commit to, I think, a much more sillier premise. Commit to the zombie part of it, as opposed to the Pride and Prejudice part. Really get some, good fight choreography in there. Really make it feel like these women are badass, which right now, they are not. They are actresses who are kind of flailing around with fake swords.
Okay, keep going.
Get some real good effects in there. I want really memorable practical effects. Because that's what always puts a zombie movie on the map. Is the great practical effects.
Okay.
So,
You're really not backing down on this.
Well,
but
this
go ahead.
is a shitty premise to begin with. I'm working my bit.
Oh no!
Yes,
Everything that you're talking about is your problem with the movie seems to be the director, because everything you're talking about, you're saying the premise. You're not talking about changing the premise. You're talking about changing.
You told me I got 3 months. I don't have time to change the premise.
Homie, when your name's on that movie, homie, you gotta make sure it's a good movie. You're talking about everything you just said is you're talking about the execution.
Yeah. On a flawed premise, it sucks, but I gotta just do it, right? So
I'm
gonna try.
I'm holding the gun to your head.
I feel like that's the thing about this. I feel like nobody really cares trying to make this thing. They showed up to work and just did it. Nobody's. They're not committing to the idea of what this movie can be, and that's what angers me more than anything.
I think you've completely lost your mind now, because we both know from the things that we've learned about different movies.
I'm gonna go Citizen Kane freak out pretty soon.
We both know that on movies that are the most troubled movies, we both know that that's when people ironically suffer the most, right? On a Fantastic Four, the effects house is trying, and the DP is trying, and everyone is trying extra hard as things start to tip, right? Everyone's trying to bend it back, and it's like what's really happening is that on a bad movie, you're all trying to pull the Titanic to shore, and you're all just getting dragged underwater.
Yep.
So you can't say that people aren't trying, because we know that on especially the worst movies, everyone tried extra hard and is bitter for it, right? This is why when you meet grips, they're always so salty.
Oh, yeah,
because they've worked on movies where it's like, we fucking, because the
18-hour days, 8 days a week.
Right, and it still didn't work. You know what I mean? I know one guy I met one time where he worked on the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes, and he's like, you watched the dailies of that movie, and it looked like $1 million, and you watched it all edited together, and people were shocked.
Yeah.
He's like, they did a crew screening or whatever, and he's like, yeah, everyone left in silence. He's like, when we were shooting it, we were like, this looks so good.
The effects in that movie are incredible, but it's. Oh, look at those ape effects again. They are fantastic.
In Tim Burton's one?
Yes. Look at that makeup.
Also, for the record, we will never do that movie.
That movie's not good. And I'm saying, there's no reason. That first trailer is great, but, there is no reason that movie should have failed, and it failed.
And not that I wanted to keep talking about this movie that I saw in the theater and hated, but talk about a shit ending. That is a shit ending.
Yes.
Where it's like, we've time traveled back to the present, but now the present is also apes.
Yep.
So
it's
what happened?
It's a little wonky. More than a little wonky.
More than a little wonky. It's literally a Twilight Zone. Not even a Twilight Zone. It's the Outer Limits ending, right? Where it's like, wait, huh?
Yep.
But Abraham Lincoln was an ape.
Yep.
So.
And they still drive Crown Victorias? Come on.
Losing your mind. I don't know if this movie. I watched it 5 times. I would watch a sequel. It's not coming.
No.
And I do think that
it tanked because it's terrible.
I do think that if you mix the style of the Focus Features version of this movie with this movie, with the premise of this movie, I think that would be very interesting, right?
Sure. Again, get some real professional talent putting this thing behind it. Then maybe you can make something interesting. Joe Wright, did you ever see Hannah?
No. Yeah, with Saoirse Ronan or whatever her name is.
The same director as Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley one. He could make a good action scene out of it. He has a one-take fight scene in that's incredible. He could make something interesting.
I heard Eric Bana's beard didn't do a good performance in that movie, though.
His beard?
Yeah.
I don't remember him having a beard.
I heard it was a real wiggy beard.
Yeah. I didn't notice it.
Well, another divisive episode of the podcast.
They're the most fun. Right?
I will not back down thinking that this is a good movie, and Kev will not back down.
I will build a Great Wall of China if it means I never have to watch this thing.
Ooh, too soon.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Too soon for the movie, and too soon for the
Great Wall coming up. Oh boy.
What do you think about that movie? Gonna be better than Pride and Prejudice and Zombies?
God, I don't know.
I think not. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for listening to our conversation. Come back next time. This episode written by me, Mr. Double J. Music by Jeff Russell. We are speaking cinema. Dance, fancy, kill some zombies.
I just want to say, I don't hate you. I'm just disappointed.
And I'll say, I accept your future apology.
There we go.